Take a look at this. So what you're seeing there is frustrated vessels going through the channel where the US has directed them to pass since the blockade of Iran began. Now, you're going to see exactly what the US has done to Iran. So before this blockade, Iran would force vessels to go through, just look closely, they force vessels to go through that part that is closer to Iran. Then when they go through that place, they take verbal permission and they pay a fee before they can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But now, you can see they now pass through the proper channel, the proper access where they are supposed to pass through before. Now, what does this mean? The ports around this place that is owned by Iran has now been blockaded. No entry, no exit. And now Iran has lost total control of the strait. What this means is that now vessels can now go through the proper channel where they are supposed to be going through, not going to pass through that corner to pay to Iran and take permission before they can go through this particular choke point. Now, yesterday it has now been confirmed that a total of 20 vessels was able to go through the strait successfully, which means Iran is now losing control of that Hormuz. And there is now beginning to look like those mines that they claim they installed in those water. That actually what Trump has been saying is true, because Trump said that Iran does not even need to drop a mine in that water. That all they need is just to say that they put mines there, and vessels will be afraid of going through that strait. But because the US vessels, naval vessels, were able to pass through that place, people are beginning to feel like, okay, like we could give it a try. And now for vessels to begin to pass through the place, and US also giving assurance that they are clearing it currently, is beginning to rebuild confidence, and vessels are now beginning to go through with confidence. Not fully yet, because the pressure in that choke point is still very high. There are over 300 and something vessels docked there, just loitering, just looking for a way to be able to pass safely. Now, something has happened yesterday. Something very, very massive has happened. And I would say President Trump has just made it clear that the war is close to over. And they asked him, if you say the war is close to over, do you mean the war is over entirely, or what? He said that if he had pulled the last stick, that it would have taken around 20 years to rebuild. Now you're going to hear him.
I had to divert, because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
Now, did you hear that? Now, when this war was going on, I made something clear. Some people still even come back to remind me, you said Iran is winning, whatever. See, I did not say Iran is winning the conventional war. The conventional war is won by the US and Israel. No country in the world today can go to war with the US conventionally. You will not survive it. But this is the point. This war, Iran won something in this war, which is the narrative. I have always said it. The day I listed the facts about this war, I made it clear. And I will say it again. I am not somebody who run away from my word. I will stand by my word today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow. Saudi Arabia has now stated officially that they will no longer stand with Trump and the US, that they can no longer rely on the US, that the US has not been able to save themselves. Not let alone saving them. That is what Saudi just released yesterday. This is a proof to you that what I said is now beginning to come to pass. A lot of you did not understand it then, because of course it is a war and propaganda was everywhere. The reality was not yet in play. Now the reality is beginning to manifest. I made it clear that after this war, if the US did not go all into Iran to do what they are supposed to do, that after this war, the narrative globally will change. And secondly is that the Gulf nation will never remain the same. Number one is that I made it clear then that the Gulf nations need to arm themselves to be able to attack back, that they cannot continue to depend on the US to help them defend their country. And that after this war, if the US pull out of this war in this manner, at this stage, it is going to be much more harmful to their reputation in the Middle East than anything else. And I also made it clear that it will open the eyes of the Gulf nations that the US having bases in their country does not guarantee their safety. I said all these things. I said all of them. And now it is beginning to manifest. Saudi has taken the first lead. Before you know it, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Oman, and all these countries will just begin to, you will see all those bases, they will be closed, all of them. And when this happens, the US loses the control of the Middle East. Now, one of the things that is much more dangerous about this speech they release is not just the speech, but look at the flag next to them there. Look at that flag. That's a Chinese flag. And those flags, the other flags, are the Gulf nations. And they are making this agreement, this discussion with the Chinese flag sitting next to them. Probably this meeting held in China, because they actually went to China for some kind of talks. And the talk they have with China is how they can bring stability to the Middle East and end the war and bring a lasting peace. This is a talk that should have happened in Washington, but it's now happening in Beijing. Why? Because they feel China is more stable and much more in a position to broker peace between them and their neighbors. And guess what? This is the danger for US. The petrodollar agreement might be coming to an end anytime soon. I said all these things. Once these people begin to align more with China, the global, and of course the Saudi Arabia and Russia are the world's largest producers of oil after the United States. Now, if the both of them align with China and the entire Gulf nations align with China, we are talking about how many percentage of the global oil trade. That if these people alone shift their alliance to China and decide to trade their oil with Chinese currency, US will no longer be able to sanction them. Now, Trump has also highlighted that Europe is now desperate for oil, and is telling all the drilling companies in the US, drill, baby, drill. Drill oil. Trump is looking for money. Trump is making money from the whole thing going on, from the whole chaos. China is desperate now. China is pressured a little, not because they don't have what to rely on currently, but because China is one country that does not like to be unstable. They like to be stable because they are economic driven. They are not battle driven. China has never won any war before, so they are not interested in war. They just want to be building their economy and gradually their influence is growing. They might never get to that point where the US, to the level that US is playing their game currently. But there is something you can understand globally. The US come with threats, pressure. They show you battleship, show you aircraft, they show you missiles, tomahawks. You start shivering. You give in to whatever they say. You fall for agreement and all that. But China will come with a proposal, a deal. Like they have locked Iran now for 25 years with an oil deal of 25 years supply deal. That is how they will lock all these Gulf nations with long-term deals. And you see all of them will become loyal to China. So whatever China says, they will have to do it because, of course, they have a deal with them. Money is flowing left and right. Everything is moving fine. So this is where the world is going now. If you have not gone to China, go and get your visa and go to China. It is very important. Just have it on your record that you've been there and you did not commit crime. Because soon, the same way we used to scramble for US visa, that is how people will be scrambling for Chinese visa. The world order is already changing. The US have a warning message. Go and finish whatever you started.